Hello and welcome to the basics of APA style. All information on this PowerPoint presentation will be coming from the American Psychological Association Publication Manual, which is the 6th edition. A real helpful tab that you have access to in Canvas is the APA Writing Help. If you go to the left side of your screen in Canvas and click on the Pages tab, scroll down and you'll find this tab for APA style. And once you click on that, you can go in to the Help section. This is what it looks like when you go in. And there's some very helpful information here under Quick Answers, including websites and in-text citations, and then definitely formatting. And we're going to be talking about heading levels, and we'll talk about the running head and the title page. So these are just some really helpful information for you. And I'm going to talk about this writing style help tab quite a bit in the presentation to make sure you can go there and find all the information you need if you don't have the manual. And of course, if you wish to purchase the manual, this is what it looks like. It is the 6th edition right now. So when we start writing our paper, the first thing we're going to put together would be a title page, and this is going to set the tone and tell the instructor or whomever is reading your paper what it's about, who wrote it, and where are you from. So the APA style help that we just spoke about has information on the title page and even gives an example, and we'll talk about that here. So if you go to the column in the center marked Quick Answers, Formatting, and choose the title page, you'll see information that's relevant to making your own title page. And the title page includes 5 elements: the title of your paper, the running head, which we'll talk about in detail, the author, which is you. If you have a byline, you'll put that in, and your institutional affiliation. And then some faculty also would like the date. So check with your instructor to see if they want anything special in there, including the date, and put that on your title page. I myself as an instructor find that very helpful if the students include the date. And so the page number for your title page is page 1. The running head that we mentioned as being an element for the title page is not really necessary unless you're publishing, but a lot of times students will put the running head on anyway on their papers. Again, check with your instructor. If they want the running heads on there to give you practice, then definitely do it, or you can simply include them yourself. They're actually quite simple. So you've already got the title of your article or your paper that you're writing. The running head is just a shortened part of that. No more than 50 characters. I would keep them small, and that includes spaces, so just keep them small, maybe the first several words of the title. And this running head is going to appear on every page. It's going to be at the top across from where the page numbers are. So let's show you what they look like. Here's an example. And it does have the words running head and then a colon, and then first couple words of your paper in all capitals. And you see that's across from the page number. So if the title of this paper that was written was Creating Success APA Sample, then we just took the first 2 words and that became the running head. And this Creating Success is going to appear on all of our pages. That's why it's a running head. It's going to run throughout as a header. And this is our sample title page. We have our running head. We've got our page number, which is 1 for title page, the title of our paper, the student's name, their college affiliation, and then this is the course number, or some faculty would like that on there, or you could have the date on there. Now, following pages throughout your paper are going to have the running head at the top. So running head is Creating Success. That's going to show up on every page, and then subsequent page numbers. And you can format your computer when you're putting it in Word to keep the running heads coming through all your papers with subsequent page numbers on them, so you don't have to go up and type the running head on each time. The body of our document now. So we've got our title page, we're getting ready to write. Sometimes it's very helpful. In fact, I would encourage everyone to make an outline. It's just a great way to begin the process so you can decide every part that you want to put into your paper, and you know what different sections you're going to have. And this is also helpful for you to determine APA formatting of levels. Now there are up to 5 levels of APA formats, and most papers use only levels 1 through 3. So today we're going to talk about levels 1 and 2, which could be pretty common to the papers that you'll be writing. But just keep in mind there are up to 5, and you can read about those in the APA Style Help section under the Pages tab. So for information on those levels of APA, you can go to the APA Style Help, take the middle column, which would be the quick answers formatting, and then go down to heading levels, because these are levels of the headings in our paper, so the sections of our paper. And then from that heading levels, choose this article here, 5 essential tips for APA style headings, and there's a very nice table on there to help you make the determination what your heading should look like. So if you need more than 2, boy, go there and they'll show you exactly how to set those up. So from here we want to talk about the first level in the body of your paper. So I've made an outline, and my outline included getting started and then a section on preparing to write. So I'm going to write a paragraph on each of those. And those are the titles of each section I'm writing about. The getting started and preparing to write will be in level 1, because there's no subheadings under each of those. There's just one heading, and then what I want to say about it, then that's over. My second section, what I want to say about it, and it's over. So the level 1 headings are centered, they're bolded, the first letters of the words are capitalized, so I'm using both capital and lowercase, and then the body of the information or my paragraph starts right underneath of my level 1 heading. Now here we're going to see a level 2 heading. So we have a level 1 heading, which is successful writing, and under successful writing in my outline I have some subsections I'd like to talk about, because when I introduce successful writing I talk about things that are important, and then I break those into sections, which would be managing writing time and the editing, which are mentioned in my first paragraph. So the level 1 heading, as we said, is centered, bold, and has the first letters capitalized. The level 2 headings are flush to the margin. They are also bold, and they also utilize the capital letter for the first word, and then the rest in lowercase. So this is a 2-level paper. While you're writing your paper, we want to give credit to the authors that we get the information from. So I've read several articles and perhaps a couple books, and I'm putting this information together to turn in my assignment and answer the questions that are inside of this paper. So in order to give credit to those authors that I am getting the information from, I have to have my in-text citations that match the references. Now, in-text citations consist of the author's surname or last name, and then the year of the publication. If there's no author, then we're going to use the title of the article, or a short form of the title if the title is quite lengthy, and then the year that was published. Now, if there's no date, we'll use ND instead of the date. ND, of course, meaning no date. So here's some samples of in-text citations. And here you're going to notice 2 different forms. In this first one, my authors are Hacker and Jones. So this information here was gained from Hacker and Jones. and there's the year of the article being published. So at the end of the material that I got from them, it's not a quote, it's not word for word, it's something that was read and paraphrased. So at the end, in italics, we have the author's last names with the ampersand symbol in between them, a comma, and the year of the publication. And then we put the period at the end of that. Now the second sample down here, the McInnes and McElroy, this is an article with two authors, but I'm putting it in the body of my work. It's not going to be at the end. It's just part of the flow of the sentence. So according to McInnes and McElroy, so we use the word and there, not the ampersand sign. And then we put in parentheses the year. So according to McInnes and McElroy, 2010, comma, then we go on with our paper. And this again is not a direct quote. It has been read, paraphrased, but it came from the work of McInnes and McElroy. Citations with items missing can throw us at first, but we just do substitutions. So if there is no author, we have an article we want to use and we can't find the author, there's no author listed at all, then you would substitute the title for in the author section. So the title of this article is Missing Author Problem, and then I put the date it was written. So Missing Author Problem is the title, comma, and the date. And if it's a lengthy, like we said, if it's a lengthy title, we'll just use maybe the first 3 words or just a small portion of the title. But still, you'll be able to find this in the reference list because that will be in place of the author there as well. And then if there's no date, we substitute the N period, D period. You notice there's no space between the N and the D, just N period, D period, and that means no date. So we have the author, comma, ND period, parentheses, and then the period at the end of our sentences. Now if everything's missing, you don't have an author and you don't have a date, then you're going to have to substitute for both of those. So instead of an author, we'll put the title of the article, Missing Everything, comma, and then the N period, D period. Quotations now require just one extra piece. So if it's a direct quote, it is word per word from a work of an author, or it's something you wrote previously and you're going to cite yourself because you don't want to perform self-plagiarism. So if it is a direct quote from either an author or yourself, you must, from previous work, you must always provide the author's last name, the year, and then give the specified page numbers. If it's on just one page, then we'd have P period and the page number. If it's 2 pages, then you have P period and then maybe 1-2 or 4-5, whatever page numbers this quote flowed over onto. If you don't have a page number, and a lot of electronic works don't, you would use the paragraph number, and for that you'd put P-A-R-A period and then the paragraph number. So here are some examples of quotes. If the quotation includes fewer than 40 words, then you're going to incorporate it into your text or the body of your paper, and you're going to put that in the quotation marks. So here's a sample. We're writing along, and then we have this quote. There is no better teacher of writing than the act of reading good writers. So here we have the quotation marks, and you'll notice there's no period at the end here because it's going to come after our in-text citation. So here we have our quote, we have the author, and then we have the date the article was written, and then this is from page 44. So if we paraphrase this and did not use a quote whatsoever, we wouldn't have anything in italics, and we would just have the author's last name and the year and not the page number. Now if our quote is longer than 40 words, then we're going to treat this as a block quotation or a block format. And that means it's going to be in a freestanding block of text, and it won't have quotation marks around it. And this block is indented to kind of make it stand out that this is a block quote. So here's an example. We have, we're writing the paper along, and then we have this full quote. So everything from public health professionals down to the end here where it says writing is a direct quote, and it's longer than 40 words. I believe this is 50 something words. So we have the quote, no quotation marks. We have already put the period here, and then we'll put the author's name, the date of the publication, and then the page that it came from. So this is different than our other quote, which had the quotation marks, and quotation marks ended, then we had the author and the date, and then the period at the end of the parentheses. So there are some differences between these two quotes. Now, after we've written our whole paper, we have to have our reference list. And the reference list will include every one of the sources that we cited in the body of our paper. So if there's an in-text citation, there must be a matching reference in our reference list. I find it easier, just a tip, I make my reference list first, because once that reference list is all written up, then I know exactly what's going to be my in-text citation, because I can simply look at the author's names and the dates, and that becomes my in-text citations. If by chance I've made my reference list and I end up not using one of those references, I simply remove it before I'm finished with my paper, because a bibliography includes everything you've read and used for your paper, but a reference list is only going to be those things that you have cited in your paper. And here's an example of some references and a reference list. So a reference list is like the last page of your paper. The word reference is at the top, and it is centered. It's not bolded, it's just regular typeface with a capital R for references. And then under that, we have our references in alphabetical order. So we have our first one begins with A, so it's there, and then Cox, and then Hacker. So these we see are in alphabetical order. So let's take some time to look at some different types of references. Here we'll look at books. If you're going to use the entire book in your reference, you would include the author, the year, the title of the work, and that would be in italics, the location, which is the city and state where it's published, and the publisher. So here's our reference list. We have the American Psychological Association textbook, or the manual rather, of American Psychological Association. And so we'll have the author, which is a group author. We'll have the year it was published, the name of the book, and the name of the book, or the title of the book rather, would only have the first word with a capital, except for American Psychological Association, our surnames, so those need to be capital as well for this book. Then this one has the edition, and you'll notice a lot of your books have editions on them, so you'll put the edition in parentheses, the 6th edition. ED is the abbreviation for edition, period, then the end of the parentheses and a period, and then we have the city, Washington, and then DC. And here, instead of the publisher, because the author is the publisher, we just have the word author. The second example is the Smeltzer book. This book is written by 4 different authors. And you'll notice here there's Smeltzer, Bear, Hinkle, and Cheever. And when you're putting these books in your reference list in alphabetical order, you're only going to alphabetize by that first author's name. We don't want to do anything to the way the authors are listed, because Smeltzer, or whoever's the first author, is the person that actually contributed more to the work. So if we were to re-alphabetize inside of the journal and put Bear, Cheever, Hinkle, and Smeltzer, I think we'd have some very angry authors, because those that are up front contributed more. So when you're alphabetizing, we're only alphabetizing by that first author, or the first author that's listed last name. So in this case, we have A for American Psychological Association, and then the Smeltzer comes to second in our list. And we can see here the hanging indent in our reference list. And the hanging indent is that the first line of the reference is flush to the margin, and the second line in the reference is indented 5, and all parts of the references are double spaced. So that's an example of a book including the edition. Now, if we were going to do the in-text citations that correspond to those, for the first book we'd have American Psychological Association, which is the group author, and then the year. And then for our other book, which has 4 authors, we'd list all 4 of the authors the first time it appears in our paper, followed by the date. And then in subsequent times that you'd find it in our paper, we could put Smeltzer et al. 2014. And we can do that for citations over 3 authors. And there's more information on multiple authors, of course, on the Pages tab in the APA Help. Now let's talk about references that are periodicals. And periodicals are any publications that are published on a regular basis, such as journals, magazines, or newspapers. And the reference should include the author or authors, the year in parentheses, and then the title of the article, the title of the periodical itself, or the publication, and that would be in italics, followed by the volume number, the issue number, and the page numbers. So here's an example of a journal. We have our author, we have his last name or hers, and then we have the initials, we have the date in parentheses, period, then we have the name or the title of the article. Now the title of the article only has the first word capitalized, and the rest are lowercase. The only time you'd have maybe another word capitalized is like if there was a surname in there, or if you had a colon. Say it said writing for professional development, colon, for the profession. In that case, you'd have the W for writing capitalized, and then the first word following the colon would be capitalized as well. Otherwise, it'll look just like this. The only other, the only part that would be having all capitals is the periodical itself. So here, the periodical is information management. That would be in italics and have every word capitalized. The next part is our volume number, and it is in italics. The issue number is in parentheses, and that's followed by the page numbers. And page numbers need to be completely included. So we can't have just 44-5. It has to be the 44-45. So all numbers have to appear. And then our in-text citation would be Cox 2009. Electronic periodicals. So these are things that are maybe journals that are e-journals or things that we can get off the internet. Those need one more part. That's either the DOI, the Digital Object Identifier, or the home page URL. So if you have the Digital Object Identifier, if that's available, you'll want to include that. And if you include that, you won't need the URL. So here we have an example. We have McInnes and McElroy, 2010. Here's the name of the article, and you'll notice that only the first one, well, this has a 7, so there's no other words capitalized. Then we have the name of the journal itself in italics with capital letters. We have the volume number in italics, followed by the issue number in parentheses, and then the page numbers. And then after that, we have the DOI number. Our in-text citation, McInnes and McElroy, 2010. If we don't have the DOI, then we need to put in the home page URL, because we have to have a way to get these articles. If you have the DOI, it's very easy to just type that DOI in and get that article. If not, what we need to know how to get to it. So we'll put the author, the date, the name of the article, the name of the journal, the volume, the issue, the page numbers, and then you say retrieved from, and then you put in the URL. So, or the, that's right off of the internet. You can just cut and paste those in and then make sure that everything's got the right font and size. But that needs to be included so that people are able to find this article. Now, citing websites can be a little confusing because you don't right away see all the information you need. But if you go to the APA style help in Canvas, over in the Pages tab, in the quick reference section, they have information that's helpful on referencing websites, and that's where some of this has come from. Now, when you're citing information from websites, you have to have more in your reference page than just their URL, or no one's going to be able to find this information easily or even know what it's about. So we're going to go to the website and we're going to find information and gather everything we need to make a proper reference and citation. So we'll look at the website and we find the author, look around for a date. Sometimes the dates of those websites are at the bottom, sometimes they're up at the top with the article. The title of your document, and then where you retrieved it from. So this is the URL where you found it from. Your in-text citation would be the author and the date. So let's look at this one as an example. This is the website that I found this information on. So if I wanted to cite this, I'd look it over carefully. I can see here, there's the author's name. I can see a date of 2009. I see the title of the article. And then this came from the APA, American Psychological Association, APA style. And then I would include retrieved from and the URL. Here's some other examples. I went to the National League for Nursing to get some information on advancing care for seniors. So I start with the title, or the author. This is a group author. The National League for Nursing wrote this, the date, the title of the information, and then retrieve from, and there's the website. Now on this example, there was no date. I couldn't find any date on this website at all for this information. So here's the group author, the Cusin Institute, ND for no date, the title, and then retrieve from, and the website URL. Now, in the past, we had to put retrieval dates, whatever date we looked at information on everything, but that's no longer the case. The only time you will put the date you retrieved something is if the information comes from an area that could be frequently changed or updated. Because if I talk about something from the American Nurses Association Career Center today, it might change next week or next month. So you might not see exactly what I saw, even though I'm referencing and citing it. So I would put the name, it's the group author again, American Nurses Association. There was no date. It's from the Career Center, and I retrieved that information on March 23rd, 2015 from, and there's the URL. So the only time you need to put in that date is if it's something that's subject to frequent change. Otherwise, you just put retrieve from and the URL. Okay, let's sum it up because we've talked about quite a bit. We first started out with writing our APA style. We discussed the title page and the 5 elements that should be included. Check with your instructor in case they would like the date in there as well, or the title of the class. We looked at the body of our work. We'll make an outline and then use the correct levels. There are up to 5 levels in APA style. Most that we'll probably use is 1 to 3 levels, and we talked about levels 1 and 2 today. Then we looked at the reference page, which is the last page of our paper, and that will include reference to every article or resource that we have cited in our paper. And the reference page has references at the top, in the center, capital R. It's not bolded. The references are listed in alphabetical order, and they are double spaced and utilize a hanging indent. So the second line and other lines of each reference will be indented. Then we looked at some specific references for books and periodicals and websites, and we matched those to what our in-text citations would be. We also talked about in-text citations, and specifically those that do not have a date that we need ND for, or no author, which we will substitute the title or parts of the title of the article. And then we discussed multiple authors and group authors. Resources to back us up. I would definitely utilize that APA style help from the Pages tab. Check out the tutorial that they provide there. You might invest in an APA manual or get one from the library if you need it. Another real helpful resource is the Purdue University Online Writing Lab. It's known as the Purdue OWL, and here's the website for you. I would steer clear of some applications that say they'll convert your paper to APA style, because if you're not careful, they might not be 6th edition, and that's the edition that we're using now. So you want to make sure things are done right, and sometimes it's easier for you to just do it yourself. The tutorial that I mentioned can be found in your in Canvas. Go to the Pages tab, the APA Writing Help section. Go to the column that says Most Popular. Choose number 3, the Basics of APA Style, and then click on View the Tutorial. Now this tutorial is a little in-depth, but there's some very helpful samples on there. So I would go through it if I were you and just pick out what you want to look at, and definitely maybe get copies of some of those samples. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you much luck in your APA formatting.